Today, I'm going to be talking about whether it makes sense financially to attend PT school in the New York City area. My name is Armando Gong. This is episode 4 of the Thriving Student Physical Therapist Show. A lot of times, when you're picking a career or choosing, in this case, PT school and grad school, we don't really go into the finances of whether it makes sense. Think of it as an investment in your future because ultimately you are spending a lot of money for PT school. I'm going to go break down the numbers of how much we're talking about in terms of tuition for each school because the more you're aware of how much something costs, the more you're aware of how you can either make it fit into your life, whether it is worth it in your career. The biggest thing a lot of people go into PT school is that we don't actually know how much money it costs. We don't know how much money we're going to earn. We don't know how we're going to survive in school because the area we might be living in, especially in New York City, is going to cost a lot of money. Having a clearer sense of what the financials mean for you is good because it allows you to better prepare yourself to make the correct decision for yourself. The best way we can address every situation is to have the most information to us, make the choices for ourselves, and go from there. There's 13 PT schools in the New York City area, and I've listed all the tuition here, and we're talking strictly about the tuition because there are also going to be a lot of fees and whatnot that go about into attending PT school, whether that's books, administration fees, program fees, and whatnot. If I left out one of the schools, please let me know. I'm more than willing to update this information. Here are 13 schools that are in the New York City area that is within driving distance, about 1 hour for commuting time. The tuition ranges dramatically, going from the CUNYs at about $60,000, but then you also have high end for LIU is $181,000. It's up to you to decide whether you are willing to pay the price to attend that specific school. I decided to take the median of all the schools because I feel that's a much more representative number to use in order to determine whether it is worth it for you to attend school at like 120,000. Again, this is not counting for extra book fees, extra program fees, and whatnot, but this is a good number to basically start off. You should always be looking at this as an investment. And for $119,964, do you have that money now? How will you be paying for it? Most people go the student loan route. And a lot of times they don't think anything of it until they start having to pay that monthly payment. If you were to go down this route of borrowing that entire sum of money at a 5% interest rate, and how much you would have to pay each month in order to pay off that loan. Duration is 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and 30 years. If you want to pay off your 119,960 loan in 5 years, it will cost you $2,263.87 per month. I also list the total interest in the fourth column because it's good to know how much extra money over the principal you're paying and whether that is worth it for you down the line. For example, to pay it off in 5 years is about $2,263 per month. You pay $15,000 in interest, which is 12 to 13% of your original principal. Once you get to 30 years, monthly payment is a lot lower, but you're paying nearly 92% more in just straight up interest. It's actually surprisingly hard to find an accurate gauge of how much it would cost to live in New York City. These are a bunch of different sources I decided to use and ended up at roughly 2671 per month to live in New York City, including rent. You're probably going to be sharing an apartment with one person or two people. This obviously can go a lot higher if you're married, if you have family, or go lower if you decide to live at home and whatnot. But this is a good gauge to basically start off with at 2671. You need to know what the actual salary that you are going to be getting as a physical therapist in New York City. It's always good to pull different sources and gather the information for yourself. If you have any financial questions, please leave a comment down below because I love to answer them at the end of this show. If I don't get to it, I will address it in a future show. Let's zoom in a little bit more and talk about how much you will be making as a physical therapist in New York City. It varies from 76,000 to 99,000. I'm going to go in the middle, take the average, and go with 88,000 roughly per year in New York City. Divided by 12 comes out to 73.39 per month. Now, we know there are taxes. We know there's going to be lots of things we have to pay for outside of the pocket. And so our annual salary is not going to be what we take home. Going off of my experience and my wife's, decide to basically be like 65% of your original gross pay to account for whatever it might be, like FICA and whatnot, which comes out to $4,770 per month that you're taking home in pay. When you break it down and you combine all the numbers, your tuition, how much loans you're going to take out, how much it costs to live in the city, and how much you're going to be making in the future, this is what the numbers break down to. Let's go with the 5 year term. You aren't going to be able to actually make your payments based on the numbers I just listed of a take home pay of 47,770. Doesn't sound too good, right? As you go down the list, you're going to be able to pay it off, whether you want to pay it off in 10 years or 30 years. Be equipped with the information that you need in order to make the best decision for your financial situation. Leave a comment below if you got something out of this so far. People can make the decision for themselves whether it is worth it to go to a PT school in New York City. There are lots of different ways you can address this. You can go for a cheaper tuition school. I listed two examples in Hunter College and CUNY Staten Island of having cheaper tuition. Another way is to have a smaller loan amount. You can go about doing this in multiple different ways, whether that's working part time through school, whether that's finding scholarships, but ultimately saving more and not taking out as big of a loan dramatically decreases how much you do have to pay back. Third, another way is to increase the amount that you are earning, whether that is, again, taking on a part time job, whether that is working side hustles, whether that is passive income, whether that is investing, whether that is working a lot, working your butt off during school to increase the amount that you are earning, whether even as during PT school or even after PT school. The more you're able to have different diversified income streams, the better it is. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether going to PT school is worth it for you. I hope you guys got something out of it, and leave a comment below for exactly what it is that you got out of it. And I'll chat with you next Tuesday at 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern.